Welcome to Perfect Organism, the Alien Saga podcast. Welcome to our video news update. We thought with the news this morning, it was apropos to talk about it just for a minute.
It's been a long time since we've done one of these.
It has. Well, we did a video a couple weeks ago, but we didn't leave it up. We did.
Oh, well, a live episode.
Not a news
recording.
update, though.
No, I didn't mean like one of these news updates. But it's funny because they all start, like every single one of these starts with one of us, usually me, going, it's been a while since we've done one of these. I'm sorry. I know it's not the most compelling introduction, but it has been a while since we've done one of these. It really has been.
And honestly, I've been pining for an update. I've been like, please, we need an update. Like, I need something to believe in. Yeah. You know me, like, obviously we have comics and great things happening, but I'm a film guy, and as are you. So I was really pleasantly surprised to read the news today, which is an update on the Alien Hulu series that is being the showrunner is Noah Hawley, and he talked about what his series is about. And what were your first impressions, Patrick?
First impressions are largely great. Also, first impressions are similar to yours, which is that, like, one of the reasons we haven't had many video updates in a while is because we've kind of been waiting for more news on this Alien series, and it's been so elusive. We've been trying to get Noah Hawley to come on PO. Maybe that'll still happen. Who knows? But, for the most part, this has been a very kind of tight-lipped situation. It's worth noting that he spoke to Vanity Fair about it. It's a lot easier to get somebody to come on a program if you're like one of the largest circulation, news outlets out there for Hollywood. Mm-hmm. So like, I get it, I get it. But this is really the first like in-depth thing we've gotten at all outside of the press release. And it expands on some of the stuff that's in there. So just kind of go through a couple of key points in terms of the timeline. It's an understandable situation, if not a little bit disappointing, that it's not very far along at all. He's written 2 full scripts for 2 episodes, one would imagine, and they're looking to film maybe next spring, so spring of 2022, which would be great. He said that COVID has thrown timelines off and it's really hard to get a space to film anything right now. So, again, understandable, but also probably part of the reason why we just haven't been getting updates on it is because there's just like not really updates to share at the moment. So we learned that. We also learned conclusively something that I think we all expected, but I, at least personally, was really hoping that it's not a Ripley-focused story, and for the right reasons. Yeah, Jamie's got to go for hashtag bring Ripley back again.
Make her 12.
She's a child. That it is not a Ripley-focused series, which I personally think is great, and we'll unpack that in a moment. We also learned that inequality will be a really key framing mechanism for it, which is something that Jamie has spoken very eloquently about in the past. It's something that I care a lot about as well, something that I think this series has always been circling around, sometimes more directly than others, but, Alien has always been about many things, one of them being capitalism and what happens when companies, don't care about people anymore. This seems like it will be a deeper investigation of that idea and what happens when the sort of voiceless people out there are really preyed upon by the company in some way. We also learned something that I personally found a little bit concerning, but I also trust him a lot, which is that we're used to a lot of basically all of the films have been claustrophobic in some way. They've all been about being trapped somewhere, right? And he says that this is more of an open space story set on Earth, where, the question isn't what are we trapped in here with, it's what if we can't contain it anymore. Very cool potentially thing. It's hard to read that and not think of AVP Requiem, but of course, like the distance between the filmmakers of that movie and Noah Hawley is like immeasurable. So it's not going to be AVP Requiem, but he is playing with tropes that are problematic that people get kind of upset about when they come up. Setting it on Earth, setting it in the near future, having like non-claustrophobic sets. It will be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I think it will be. And tying a creature invasion to Earth before the events of the Nostromo, if it's the near future, what does that mean, the near future? Lots of questions. I like the questions. I like that we're a little uncertain. I think we need to walk into this with uncertainty. I feel like the last 2 formal films, everyone walked in with a little bit of certainty. Oh, it's Ridley Scott, it's going to be awesome. And we have a myriad of different responses, certainly to Prometheus. So I like that we're all approaching this with caution. That's what we should do. We should approach it with caution. Honestly, we as a fandom have not really coalesced on a film since 1986. That's
It's a
just the
long time.
truth. It's a long time. It's a lot of PTSD. And we're owed, I'd say, a really good film or a show. And I think that this is it. But I think what's the most important thing is that Hawley talks about what these films are at their heart. They're human stories. They're about what we do when we're trapped, when we have to make a decision, what that decision should be, what is the wrong or right decision, and who is the alien in the room. And in the article, which I would recommend that everyone read, it's the Vanity Fair piece is the most extensive, which is based off of what Bloody Disgusting posted. Hawley goes into a little bit what alien means to him, but it's really true. Like, these stories are about us and our own darkness. And despite, for instance, Alien, despite the creature being on board the ship, which was terrifying, what was more terrifying was what the company was doing to ensure its safe passage. And the company always being scarier, humans always being scarier than the creature itself. The creature is just a manifestation of our own darkness. That's what these stories are about. These stories aren't just creature features. They work in that way, but why they resonate is because of the humanity. So I'm all aboard.
Yeah, I think it could be really great. I also think it's worth noting that this is sort of a return to the young auteur model that has worked really well for Alien in
Mm-hmm.
general, right? Noah Hawley is, I mean, he's an established person. I think he's in his 50s, but hasn't had this franchise before. He's been wanting to make it for a long time. He has been fighting to get this made,
Mm-hmm.
and clearly has the passion for it. He also, as we mentioned on a recent PO episode, walked away from a Star Trek reboot for this essentially. And the reason he walked away was because they weren't letting him make the movie that he wanted to make with the people he wanted to make it with, which is exactly who you want on an alien project, right? You want somebody who's not afraid to push back and be like, I have an idea for this thing and I want to fight for it. Because Ridley Scott and James Cameron epitomized that, right? They were
Mm-hmm.
two people who were butting up against
As did
every
David
brick
Fincher.
wall. And,
Yeah.
well, yeah, David Fincher did it from a position of less power, though, because he
Oh,
was
for sure.
so
Yes,
so
yes.
new and so young and so like so David Fincher didn't have the firepower to push back with in any real way. But I mean, I guess neither did James Cameron. He had barely done anything yet, and neither had Ridley Scott really. So yeah, you're right. Basically, all of these movies up until Resurrection were really the stories of auteurs having to push through boundaries and prove themselves. And Noah Hawley, has done just an immensely great job with everything that I've seen him do so far. And I think it is clearer to me every day that he is a great candidate for this. I want to say one thing before we wrap. The Variety article that we're referencing, it's written by Anthony Breznican,
Vanity
who's a
Fair.
what did I say?
Variety.
Oh, sorry. Vanity Fair, the Vanity Fair article that we're referencing is written by Anthony Breznican, who's a really well known guy. He's done a lot of books, a lot of writing on celebrities in Hollywood and things. Clearly a very smart, astute guy, but he starts with this point that I think is so stupid, which is so I'll read the first paragraph and a half here, two paragraphs. He says, "Eat the rich? That's not a bad premise for a new iteration of Alien, but most of the time, the series about hyper predatory extraterrestrials has focused on working class heroes." And then there's a little bit more. And then he says, "Maybe there's a capitalism metaphor inherent in this series." I'm like, Anthony Breznican, what fucking movies have you been watching? Like, he's setting it up like, wait a minute.
I know, I know.
The metaphor has
Like,
always been that,
yeah, yeah. Well,
And
if you're paying
also,
attention, the metaphor is that. But
right.
to be fair, there are plenty of fans in our fandom who don't watch the movies for any of that. They watch it
Yeah.
for the funny lines, for Hudson, for the tech, for the guns, and that's all they do. And that's great. I
Yeah.
think the deeper stuff, but the resonance comes from the deeper things. And as
Right.
a journalist, you should know that. You should
Right,
know.
but especially because he
Yeah.
starts with an actual oxymoron. He starts with like that's not a bad premise for a new iteration of Alien, but most of the time the series has been about working class heroes. Like he's making it seem like this idea of eat the rich has never been at the forefront and in opposition to that, it's actually been about, you know, working class people, when in reality that's kind of the whole thing, right? Is it's this constant struggle between the controlling haves and the have nots, who are kind of, you know, getting squished under their thumbs, and the ways that those things interact. What I guess you might be saying that is valid, though, is that we've never really seen a kind of, well, no, we have actually. Never mind. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. I was going to say we've never seen a story where the rich, you know, powerful class is the one that gets fucked over by anything. But, you know, the first film ends with the Nostromo blowing up. The second film ends with LV-426 blowing up. You know, like they're with the colony blowing up. So who knows where this is going? I'm excited about it. I think this is
Me
going to be
too.
great. I hope that the fans who are there primarily for the aliens stuff, like primarily for the, you know, military tech and the one liners and the explosions and stuff, like those fans have a seat at the table 100% for all of these conversations. I hope that this speaks to them too in some way. The more I hear about it, the less it seems like it will. It seems like it's going to be a pretty kind of cerebral, you know, different treatment of this material. But if it's really good, it won't matter, right? It won't
Yeah.
matter what kind of a fan you are,
Yep.
because the reality is, you know, I always make this false dichotomy statement when we're talking. I'm always like, you're an alien person or an aliens person. The reality is that every alien person is also an aliens person, and every aliens person is also an alien person, because they're both such fantastic movies that, you know, everybody loves them both. It's just a matter of which one you identify with more.
Yeah.
Hopefully, this will be in there with them, you know, as one
Yeah.
of the great achievements.
I have a one last point to make, and something that Holly talked about in the piece, the Vanity Fair piece, is the presence of the white collar, and the white collar always sending the blue collar people out to die, to whatever, to do the grunt work, to do the dirty work, which is the case. And it reminds me a little bit of, and I'm not trying to at all like toot my own horn, but like when I was working with Starbucks, I was very active with workers' rights, and it was a constant battle to get the white collar people who ran the company in Seattle in the big offices to actually listen to what the people who make their money are saying. And that was hard. And they would make these decrees and make these decisions and roll out this shit. And then we would be like, you guys aren't even you we would look at these things that they would roll out and think, who are you? Where do you even live that you think that this is possible? So I love that Holly is talking about bringing in that white collar experience, like, oh no, this time you're in trouble too, and called for this, and what are you going to do? You're the decision maker. So I love that angle, and I'm excited to see, hopefully we'll see updates when they start production, which will be in spring of next year, which isn't that far. And it's not a maybe. I mean, Holly said we're going to start production in spring
Does
of
he
next
say
year. So
definitively? Yeah.
definitively, there's no maybe
Okay.
about it. So I'm excited. And he did talk about,
Well, he said we're looking to make them next spring.
yeah, well, but he also talked about one of the reasons what's taking them so long, aside from the the slate of productions happening, is he said the amount of effects that this will call
Mm.
for takes a lot of prep work, which to me, that hopefully they're working with ADI. I would imagine they are. I think Holly went on record a few months back saying, yes, we're going to go with them. I don't know for sure. I'm all for it. Bring it. We're ready.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll be back to discuss anything else that might turn up in the coming weeks and months.
Could happen
Talk to you
anytime.
soon. Yep.